the greatest manipulator, whose name is Bikajin. As a child, her mother used to beat her because she was an alcoholic, and at first her father would defend her. But after this happened repeatedly, he stopped taking much interest. One day we see him take her mother outside and push her down the stairs. When Bikajin sees this, she asks, "Did you push her?" He replies, "No, she was drunk. Don't worry, I'll get you a new mother who's very rich. And if you tell anyone about this, I'll throw you away the same way." After that, she goes down to check her mother and finds that she is still alive, but she ignores her. Years later, Bikajin has become an actress, a real actor who is actually a sociopath. She deliberately approaches people to use them for her purposes. She's never killed anyone herself. Still, it seems she's indirectly caused 2 people's deaths. She is the ultimate manipulator who uses people to make her life easier and meet her goals. Now let's go deeper into Bikajin's story. When she was in school, at a teacher's birthday, some controversial photos of her circulated. Embarrassed, she runs outside, and Bikajin comes to comfort her. Whispering in her ear, she says, "How did you like my gift? You told me you had no parents and that you were an orphan, so I thought I'd give you a present." The other woman calls her psycho and runs away. That was only a trailer. Next we will see how she ruins a girl's life. But from Bikajin's perspective, everything she does is necessary. The girl's name is Songi. Songi is only a point behind Bikajin in art, and when she goes into the art teacher's room, she sees Bikajin there and tries to eavesdrop. A boy named Jaso arrives and escorts her away. The next day, Songi comes up to Bikajin and asks, "How do you study so much? Your marks are great. Do you take tuition from the art teacher?" Bikajin smiles and says, "Why are you always poking into other people's business? Characters like you die first in movies. Consider yourself lucky you're not in a movie, you won't die." The girl gets very scared. Soon there's a competition for which Jaso gives his seat to Bikajin, which becomes a problem for Songi. For students from their school decide to prepare for their practical presentation together, led by Songi. But Bikajin asks, "Do you always decide for others what they should do?" Songi doesn't want to look bad in front of everyone, so she says, "From now on we'll take everyone's opinions and decide together." When her mother comes to pick her up, she is furious, calling Bikajin a total psycho. Songi's mother tells her, "You said she was an orphan and wouldn't have money for tuition, so how is she ahead of you? The teacher I bribed to help you has been removed from the school." If you connect the dots, that teacher was the same one who took the bribe and whom Bikajin removed from her path very cleanly. Songi realizes this. Later, we see Bikajin and Jinso sitting together. Songi asks Jinso for English notes. Jaso gets a call from Songi about the competition, but he declines. Bikajin finds a note in Jaso's bag left by Songi, saying she likes him and what she thinks of him. Bikajin writes a reply on Songi's behalf and says that replying is necessary. The next day, rumors spread that Bikajin has no parents and lives alone, and such children are looked down upon. They even remove her from the competition. Songi, enjoying this, comes to Bikajin, who gives Songi the letter back and says, "This is from Jaso." The letter is cruel, saying he doesn't like Songi and basically insulting her. Songi discovers that their school's team has been removed from the competition because someone reported that fighting is going on amongst the candidates. Songi taunts Bikajin about how she prejudices people. Bikajin retorts that Songi's scholarship and the food she eats come from Bikajin's father's tax money, so don't try to think of yourself as superior. Songi thanks her sarcastically and leaves. Songi later checks handwriting, realizes Jaso didn't write that letter, Bikajin did. Meanwhile, Bikajin calls a boy who collects money for her and keeps a ledger for it. As Bikajin exits the washroom, Songi throws water on her. She knows Bikajin wrote the note. In that state, Bikajin deliberately comes into the classroom. Jaso covers for her and takes her to the nurse. On the way, they meet the boy, Kim Jio, who asks what happened. A little verbal spat happens between the 2 boys, and then we see how those 2 boys first met. Once Bikajin sees Kim Jio stealing, she starts using that fact. She bluntly tells him, "I'm going to use you. You're very useful for me." She selects pathetic people who can be easily manipulated, emotional people who act from the heart rather than the head. Kim Jio is one such person. His father beats him. In class, when the boy is running, his phone falls and Songi sees it. She finds money-related messages in it. Bikajin pretends to be afraid and asks Jaso, "Will you help me?" The next day, rumors spread that Kim Jio is involved in something money-related. Songi secretly goes to meet him and Bikajin manipulates him by saying, "You get beaten by your father a lot. Why don't you hit him back? After all, you're a victim." He replies, "No, I'm not just a victim. If I stop taking the hits, my father will cause trouble elsewhere." He thinks himself worthless. Bikajin manipulates him, telling him he's useful, at least useful to her. The next day at lunch, Songi teases him again, and when he gets up, she follows him and finds out who his boss is, the man who tells him to collect money. Jaso sees that Songi is going to cause trouble and calls her to the rooftop, saying, "I like you. I don't want my girlfriend interfering in others' business." And she slips badly. She says she won't bother him after today. Bikajin calls Kim Jio again because she wants to cleanly get rid of Songi. With a fake crying act, she manipulates him again. Next we'll see how she uses both boys to ruin that girl's life. The next day in class, money is being collected for something. During physical education, Songi says she really doesn't like it, so Jae-soo suggests they skip. She pretends to have stomach pain and goes to the art room. Baekhyun is already there in the art teacher's room and asks to hold her hand because she needs to tell her something. She's very nervous. She speaks in a way that makes it look like something is going on between her and the teacher, and for a while Songi is in the classroom. Jae-soo did not personally bring Songi. He went to fix equipment. When everyone returns to class, they discover money is missing, and suspicion falls on Songi because she was alone in the classroom and had used the stomach pain excuse. Her bag is checked, then her locker. Money is found in her locker along with Kim Ji-ho's phone and earpods that were stolen from someone. They make her out to be a complete thief. Songi protests and says there is nothing on her phone when they check it, but things from her locker incriminate her. Baekhyun doesn't stop. She even starts rumors that Baekhyun is somehow involved with the art teacher. The English teacher hears and slaps Songi because she claims she was talking about counseling, but the teacher misunderstood and thinks Songi accused her of having an affair. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-ho posts something online in the school community to further damage Songi's reputation. The next day, the teacher calls Songi and phones her parents. But her parents argue among themselves and are useless. Songi meets Baekhyun outside and says, "You act so clever, but you're an orphan. I have very rich and powerful parents." Baekhyun politely threatens her, saying she could also trap Songi's father in a case of adultery or an affair, which would destroy his career. Songi is already stained as the thief's daughter, so she can't fight Baekhyun. She's left only to keep dreaming. Jean talking to her mother's ashes. She mentions Shermang, saying there was a girl she taught a good lesson to, and also talks about the last semester when she met her art teacher because she hadn't completed her assignment. She told the teacher she couldn't finish it because she had been beaten as a child. Her wrist was broken, and it hurt to write. The teacher pitied her and gave her full marks. And as we saw in the last episode, Jean had topped the class without taking any tuition. Here we get our answer: she had fooled the teacher and topped. She had also taken the address of a love counseling center from the art teacher, brought it to her mother's ashes and said, "Mom, go to this place. Maybe in your next life you'll be born as a good person. Because I'm a very bad person, and about to do something terrible." Then we're taken back to 2007. Jin's mother used to make her steal from shops. Once, Oren caught her stealing and her mom ran away. After her mother's death, police came to take the body, while her father pretended to cry, fake tears, obviously. Later, Jin's father attends a funeral of a rich family, where a woman cries hysterically for her dead husband. This woman, Ji-seon, is actually having an affair with Jin's father. Both had killed their respective partners. So yes, this confirms their guilt. Soon, Ji-seon becomes Jin's stepmother. Jin and her father move into Ji-seon's house. Ji-seon has a son, Jun, Jin's classmate, the boy who often saves her. They become step-siblings and also friends. Meanwhile, their parents enjoy their romantic lives. But Ji-seon no longer has access to her family's money, as all the wealth is in Jun's grandfather's name. Jin's father says, "My daughter will become a money-making machine. We'll record her videos, sell them, buy a penthouse by the Han River, and then dump her in an orphanage." It's not shown clearly what kind of videos he meant, but it's heavily implied to be something inappropriate. Jin overhears everything. Then we return to the timeline, where Sagang yelling at her dad for having an affair with a teacher. Outside, a man appears calling out Jin's name. She asks who he is, and he says, "I'm Jin's father." His appearance makes him look like a scammer. His dream of a penthouse clearly didn't come true, so now he scams people. Meanwhile, Jae-hoo and Jin are reading Shermang's diary, in which Shermang has rated all her classmates and written disgusting comments about them. Jin receives a message: "Your dad has come to school." She panics and runs. Jae-hoo's brother messages him, "Dad is home and beating me." At school, Shura brings Jin's dad to create drama. Jun confronts him. "What are you doing here? You were told not to come." The dad says, "Wait a minute, you're Jun, right? You've grown up. Where's my daughter, Jin?" Shura enjoys the scene, thinking Jin's reputation will be destroyed. Jin watches everything from afar. Jun offers to give the man money if he leaves, and he agrees, clearly a greedy man. Shermang tries to stop him but fails. Jin drops Shermang's diary and runs away. Other students pick it up, read the nasty comments, and decide to take revenge on Shermang. They catch her on the street and beat her badly. Meanwhile, Jae-hoo sends his brother away in a taxi to their aunt's house. The aunt scolds him for wasting money on a taxi. Jae-hoo says, "Please take him to the hospital, he needs treatment." Then he calls Jin and says, "I killed my dad. I'm going to the police." Jin says, "No, don't go to the police. Regret it, cry, but don't go." The scene cuts there. Shermang, on the other hand, is expelled from school and leaves crying. Jin's life seems perfect afterward. She's happy and moves on. Time passes: semesters, winters, summers. She graduates and even clears her university entrance exam. Jun is overjoyed. Jae-hoo, however, is shown in court, being tried for his father's murder. The judge shows leniency and gives him a 3-year sentence. He remembers Jin, how she had once told him not to steal, saying, "One day, you'll be useful to me. When I call, come help me." He cries, feeling hypnotized by her words. Meanwhile, Jin's gambling-addicted father loses all his money again and comes to her school asking for cash. He learns Jin and June have both entered university. June is seen with his wealthy grandfather, asking for money to help a friend, Jae-hoo, pay university fees. The grandfather agrees but asks June to accompany him to Japan for medical treatment every 2 months. Elsewhere, Jin's father visits Ji-seon, June's mother, and asks about Jin's address. He's been to jail before, and during that time Jin had run away from home. His name, we learn, is Young-soo. He demands Ji-seon to ask her son for Jin's location. Ji-seon warns him to stay away from her family. Jin, meanwhile, checks her bank balance. She has no money for tuition. June happily offers her the scholarship money he got from his grandfather and says, "He wanted to give it to someone, I chose you. In return, I just have to go to Japan with him." Jin gratefully accepts. But Young-soo somehow finds Jin's address, goes there, beats her brutally, and steals the tuition money. She recalls a memory from childhood. June once came to her saying he was sick, but his mom had kicked him out. Jin took care of him lovingly, and their bond grew stronger since then. Later, June shows her a family photo with a driver named Mr. Park, who had moved to the US after June's father's death. Jin visits Ji-seon with tea and says, June misses his father a lot. Who is he? Could it be Mr. Park? Ji-seon gets angry. What nonsense. Jin teases her. I think June is the driver's son. Ji-seon threatens her, but Jin blackmails her. Don't send me to the orphanage. Buy me new clothes instead. Ji-seon then agree. Jin then tries to provoke June, saying, Your mom is a horrible woman. She parties all day while locking you up. I care about you, not her. Ji-seon overhears this and angrily calls Jin's father. What kind of girl did you bring into my house? Take her away. When Ji-seon confronts Jin insults her even more. Enraged, Ji-seon drags Jin to the bathroom and tries to drown her. June sees this, rushes in, and Jin runs to the window, shouting, Call the police. Tell them a girl fell from the window. She sits on the window ledge. Her dad arrives downstairs. Jin mutters, If I fall from here, I won't die. My mom fell from stairs too and didn't die. June has already called an ambulance. Jin is hospitalized. Ji-seon panics, saying, Make the videos quickly and send her to the orphanage. June comforts Jin, covering one of her ears, and says, Don't worry. I'll always take care of you. In the present day, Jin is still in the hospital, unconscious for 3 days. Because she missed her tuition payment deadline, her university admission is cancelled, and her seat is given to someone else. The next day, during the admission ceremony, June's mother, Ji-seon, comes to meet him. June quickly takes her to the car and then follows Jin, who is walking away. He sees her watching a thief being caught by a man. Jin narrates, Do you see this man? He's the one who changed my life. Jin was watching a man, Jang, who had just caught a thief. People are praising him wildly. What an amazing man. He caught a great thief. Jang runs a cafe, and Jin has come to talk to him because she needs a job now that school is finished. Jang gives her the keys to his flat and tells her to come work at the cafe from now on, since her previous place was discovered by her father and they can't go back there. Jin replies that that's exactly what she wants. She'll come and she'll pay whatever is needed. In the next scene, we see June dropping her off at home. June's mother pleads with him, Please don't go. But June leaves anyway, because his mother hates Jin and has mistreated her since childhood, calling her names and treating her cruelly. Jin starts working part-time at the cafe, while June teaches children at an academy nearby. 2 students see Jin and say how pretty she is and joke about wanting to meet her at the cafe. They tease her about being someone's girlfriend. She deflects and says she won't be anyone's boyfriend. Back at the cafe, we meet another staff member, Yusuf, who says, So many guys flock after Jin. Everyone wants her. Someone took photos of Jin and put them online on the cafe's website, and she's gone viral. Miri notices and thinks, She's so beautiful. I offered her a heroin role years ago and she rejected it. Maybe I can approach her again. Jin's beauty makes the cafe popular. Jang spends his days watching baseball because he can't play anymore. His career was broken, an injury caused deliberately by another player. From time to time a man comes to see Jang and offer him work. Yusuf says that this is a good man and that Jang will definitely get a job someday. That evening Jin and June are walking together. Jin asks why a good person meets another good person, and June replies maybe it's because they're angels who want to change someone's life. Jin remembers these small lines. You will become someone who pursues dreams and holds on to them. Jang is worried when some boys call and ask for Jin's number. He firmly refuses and tells Jin not to work late, to go home instead. A guy who called for her shows up outside the cafe to get her number. Yusuf pushes him away. Later, June is at his grandfather's memorial when the same obsessed man who followed Jin appears. June is also on his way to meet Jin and sees that Jin is about to attack the man. June stops her and takes her with him. Jin is injured and says, You promised you'd do anything for me, then do it. Go kill him. Then she slips away. June tells the man not to tell anyone. He says he'll call an ambulance. Jean returns home and her father is on the phone bragging that his daughter is very beautiful and that they'll record videos of her and sell them for money. They'll be rich. He beats Jean. When he tries to leave, she is rescued by June, who says, "Stay away from my daughter." June comforts Jean and she hugs him. The next day, Jang asks Jean about her injury. Jean doesn't tell the truth. Jang says she can use him. Jang feels pity for Jean after she tells him a sad story. Her father works the night shift and sometimes comes home drunk and beats her badly. Jang cares for her. Meanwhile, Jin's father has hidden a camera and someone takes it. He says on the phone, "I've knocked her out. We'll make dirty videos and sell them." At that moment, June realizes someone is recording and starts running. The father grabs June and beats him. June asks, "Why are you doing this to your daughter?" "She's my daughter. I won't stand for it." June nearly kills him in anger, but stops. He throws a stone and then runs away. Everything is witnessed. The police arrive and arrest both Jean and June. Jean is questioned and claims that they are brother and sister and that the family is divorced. She says June harasses and beats her. June is shocked by the lie. He screams that the man is Jin's father and that he makes dirty videos, and that he himself has proof. But during the fight, June's phone fell and Jean took the opportunity to delete all the videos from the phone and handed it to the police. So there is no proof left. Both father and daughter are released. Jean goes home lovingly with her father, telling him she'll call when she gets paid and that she'll be a good daughter. Her father says proudly, "My daughter has grown up," and leaves. Later, Jean meets June and he asks why she did all this. Jean replies that if they spoke up, the man would get out of jail and continue abusing them, so she lied to protect herself. She blames June. "Why didn't you kill him when you had the chance? You're a loser, you can't do anything." June protests that if he had killed him, he would have gone to prison for decades. The next day, Jean shows up at the cafe wearing a fake bandage on her head. Yusuf and Jang are worried and ask who hurt her. Jean cries and says a boy kept following her. She was scared and fell and got hurt. Yusuf suggests calling the police. Jean says, through tears, that the police won't help. She's terrified. Jang offers to let her stay at his house so she won't be alone. Jean says she will go to a friend's place for the night. Later, Jean receives a gift box at home containing a dead rat and a note that says, "You're next." The stalker is seen nearby. Jang chases, but the stalker escapes. Jean tells Jang she will go to a friend's house and sleep there tonight. Jang insists he'll stay at the cafe tonight. Jean rejects it. Jang gives Jean a baseball bat for protection and tells her to keep it. Back at the shop, Yusuf sees the stalker, who always wears a cap, watching Jean. Jean eventually moves her things into a new apartment Jang arranged for her. She texts her father that her salary has been deposited and tells him to come collect the money the next day. He's thrilled, thinking they'll be rich. The next day, Miri visits the cafe to offer Jean a job again, asking if she'll accept. Jean says she'll think about it. Yusuf and Jang are excited and ask for an autograph, teasing that Jean will be a star. Jean insists she had rejected a previous offer. Back in jail, June is still waiting and no one from his family has come to get him out on bail. Jang asks Jean about how last night went. She says she stayed at a friend's. But when she returns home, she finds the stalker has been in her house and trashed her things. Jang asks how she plans to live now. Jean says she believes God will save her. Jang insists she stay at his place and says he will sleep somewhere else. He wants to protect her. Yusuf mentions he'd seen the stalker someplace before. Jean later pretends to cut herself and goes to get medicine. She asks Jang to go to the memorial with her. Jang worries about her family situation. Yusuf leaves. Jang puts Jean in a taxi, but she secretly tells the driver to take her to her old home instead, and texts Jang saying her mother came to get her ID. When she gets there, her father is back and tells her to give him money. Jean gives him a cap as a present for his birthday and he puts it on. You'll notice the stalker also wears the same kind of cap. The father repeatedly demands money. Jean hands him a paper and he explodes in rage, beating her brutally. Jean thinks, just survive for 10 minutes, because it takes 10 minutes to get home from the cafe. She drags out time and finally Jang arrives in his car and rescues her, fighting and finishing the man's attack. The father runs away. Outside, June watches the whole scene helplessly and breathes a sigh of relief. Jean calls the police and hysterically begs them to save her father, saying he's about to die. Then she cuts the call and starts laughing loudly. Jin's father was writhing in pain and begging her for help. But Jean refused, and instead, she cut the cap with scissors and threw it into the river to destroy the evidence. Soon after, we see the police beginning their investigation, and Jung was also there. They arrested him. Jean was taken to the hospital, where she gave her statement saying, "Jung killed my father." Jung was also interrogated and told the truth, that Jean had given such a statement. Jung insisted, "I didn't go there to kill anyone. There was a stalker." The police asked how he knew that, and Jung explained, he used to wear a cap, but the officers replied, there was no cap found at the crime scene. Jung was shocked. Jean, when asked, denied knowing anything about any cap. Jung further explained, I attacked his neck with a bat, but he was still alive. I was about to call the police, but Jean stopped me. She said, "Don't call them. He's my dad. Go away. I'll handle everything." The police responded, "Stop making up stories. You killed a 20-year-old girl's father. She's now an orphan." Jung, in tears, said, "I think I was set up. This was all planned." But no one believed him. Soon, the autopsy report came out. The time of death was 10 p.m. But Jean had called the police at 3 a.m., so they asked her where she was during those 5 hours. Jean replied, "I was unconscious. When I woke up, I called the police." She told them she was tired and asked them to leave. Outside, the police got a call from a man, Jung's acquaintance, who used to meet him at the cafe and wanted to help him. Jean overheard their conversation and recorded everything. The man pleaded, "We have to save Jung somehow. He's a national player who just signed a contract with us." I don't think Jean killed her father. Even the officer agreed. Jean panicked because her plan was falling apart. June, sitting nearby, overheard everything. The officer returned to Jean and said, "Jung acted in self-defense. He'll be cleared soon." Outside, we see Jung's friend bribing another officer to release Jung. Jean took photos of this bribe. Meanwhile, Jun's mother also learned that Jin's father had died. Then, when the police searched Jin's house, they found pieces of the cut-up cap in the bathroom. Soon, Jean was discharged from the hospital and immediately arrested. June witnessed everything. The police even coached Jung on what to say in court. Say Jean set you up and that you attacked in self-defense. You won't get a big sentence. Jung asked, "What about Jean?" The officer replied, "She'll go to jail." Even though he was manipulated, Jung still worried about Jean. Then we're shown an actress who, while drunk, caused a car accident and blamed it on an innocent girl. A police officer realized what really happened, but the innocent girl took the blame. At that same police station, Jean was brought in, and her name caught the attention of Miri's manager, who knew Miri always wanted to work with Jean. The police questioned Jean again. "Why did you invite your father home and then leave when Jung sent you there? Why did you lie about the cap? 2 of the attacks happened in the bathroom, and your father was struck twice on the head. That's what killed him. Jung only hit him once in the neck. So who did the rest?" Jean asked for water. Outside, June waited with a lawyer, planning something. Then Jean pulled another trick. She claimed she needed female staff because she was on her period and had to go inside. Once alone with the female staff, she said, "Go listen to the last recording on my phone and look at the photos. You'll hear and see clearly that the police are helping Jung and trying to frame me." The photos indeed showed the officer taking bribes. This reached the senior officer, who immediately ordered the car searched, but instead of cash they found beer bottles. The corrupt officer had replaced the money with bottles, thinking he was safe. Furious, he went to Jean and threatened her. "You tried to trap me. Now no one can save you." Meanwhile, June's mother told him about Jin's father's death. June replied coldly, "So what? Let them die. It's none of our business." Miri's manager then met Jean and said, "We can save you. We have power." But she didn't reveal what they wanted in return. Elsewhere, Yusu was questioned about the stalker. He admitted, "Yes, there was a stalker, but I once saw him talking with Jean." This made him believe Jean might have teamed up with the stalker to trap Jung. The officers checked store CCTV footage, and yes, the stalker appeared there. Later, June arrived at the police station and shockingly took the blame himself. He said, "I killed Jin's father. I'm her stepbrother. I even got him jailed once before because he was a bad man. This time I killed him." When asked how, June explained, "I went to the hotel first and mixed sleeping pills in his drink. He didn't come, so I later went to Jin's house. He was already injured. I picked up the bat and hit him, killing him." The police confirmed part of his story. They found a drug drink in the hotel. But the hotel manager said June came after 3 a.m., even though the death happened at 10 p.m. This proved June was lying. The officer warned him, "That girl is manipulating you. She's using you." June replied, "I love her." He then attacked the officers, screaming that Jean was innocent and begging them to let her go. Eventually, the case reached higher authorities. Jung was officially declared the criminal, and the bribed officer was arrested. Miri appeared again, offering Jean fame and power, but on one condition. She must stay away from June. She promised to make Jean Korea's biggest star if she agreed to cut him off forever. Jean accepted. Later, the case files mysteriously disappeared from the police station and ended up with Miri, suggesting she might use them to blackmail Jean in the future. June was released and went straight to Jean. He told her, "Your father was crazy. I saved you, but you wronged Jung." Jean said, "I never told him to do any of this." June replied, "You created the situation that forced him. You made him do it." Jean taunted him, "So now you pity him but not me? I've been the victim all my life." June tried to comfort her. "I'll stay with you. I'll protect you." Jean shouted, "Go away. You're useless. You couldn't even kill someone for me. You just talk big." June, hurt, said, "You're leaving me now? You've only ever hurt people." Jean replied, "Yes, go. Don't ever show me your filthy face again. I'm going to be a star. June said quietly, fine, become one. But wherever you go, you'll always be alone. You'll never be happy. She responded, I'm not happy anyway, and walked away. Years passed. We jump to the present day. Jean is now a famous actress, Korea's biggest star. Jung, however, sits in prison, with long hair and a broken spirit, watching Jean on TV. At the Busan Film Festival, where all the big Korean celebrities have gathered, Jean is also present there. Her dress gets stuck under her feet and she almost falls, but suddenly a guy rushes to help her. He is the male lead of this place, named Young Hae, who helps Jean. On the other side, we see Jun, who has just returned to Korea. He sees Jin's show on the airport TV. We also see Jae-ho, who is sitting in a restaurant watching Jean as well. It looks like he was released from prison and several years have passed. Jean talks about herself at the event and praises Young Hae, saying he really cares for her and that they are very close. Miri asks her if Rina doesn't feel bad about this closeness. Jean replies, no, why would she? I already asked her. Jae-ho is watching all this silently. Next, we meet Rina, the celebrity we saw last episode, the one who got drunk, caused an accident, and blamed it on someone else. Yes, it's the same girl. Young doesn't love her at all and wants to get rid of her. Rina angrily asks him why he went with Jean to the festival. Young says, my manager Miri told me to do it. Otherwise, I have no interest in her, or in you. Please break up with me. He leaves, but Rina keeps chasing after him. The next scene shows a shooting set where Rina and Jean are filming together. Rina misbehaves badly, insults Jean, and tries to belittle her saying, you're younger than me, stay in your place. Jean just stares at her. I think Rina is about to make Jean her next target. After the shoot, the director tells Jean not to take Rina's words seriously. They need to finish the shoot or they'll lose a lot of money. Meanwhile, Miri brings a new project for Jean. Young comes to her, and we learn that Miri was the one who told him to get close to Jean. In exchange, Young is begging Miri to help him break up with Rina. But Miri refuses, saying that if their breakup becomes public, many projects will get cancelled and they'll lose a lot of money. She tells him to continue pretending to be in a relationship for the public. Suddenly, Miri gets a call from the shooting location that Rina has been misbehaving with everyone. Miri rushes there and Rina even misbehaves with her. But then Miri threatens her, saying she has her secrets, drunk driving and hitting people, and that she had covered it up for her. Rina immediately starts apologizing, begging Miri not to expose her. Jean sees all this and is shocked at how suddenly Rina's attitude changes. Rina even falls at Miri's feet. Rina's assistant tells Jean that Miri has dirt on every celebrity she launched. She keeps a file of everyone's dark secrets in her office locker and uses them for blackmail. The next day, Jean and Rina end up at the same salon. Rina says, wow, you come here too? I'll stop coming here now. This place is ruined. Jean asks why she hates her so much. Jean explains that Miri told her to go with Young to the festival, and Jean didn't refuse because she benefits from it. Rina gets irritated. Jean then asks about Rina's dark secret, recalling their police station encounter. Rina gets scared and runs away. Jean takes the elevator, where a man in a helmet enters with her. He keeps following her. This turns out to be Jae-ho, who clearly still remembers her, probably loved her a lot. Next, we see Jin's assistant driving Jean. Jean sweet-talks her, calls her like a sister, and complains about Rina troubling her. The assistant, emotionally swayed, reveals she can steal the files from Miri's locker. That's exactly what Jean wanted. On the road, Jean sees a poster of Jun. He has become a successful novelist, and his first autograph session is happening soon. The next day, we see Jun at the event with many fans. He often sees Jin's posters around Korea since he recently returned. Talking about Jun's mom, she has become practically a beggar, with no money left. She goes to Jun's grandfather asking for money, but he throws her out of the house, humiliating her. Jun sees everything but does nothing because he dislikes his mom. He brings books for his grandfather, who scolds him for bringing too few. We then see Jae-ho's life. Years have passed since he left prison. He works odd jobs, gives his earnings to his aunt to take care of his younger brother. But his family doesn't want to see him. They hate him because he killed his brother's father. Jae-ho secretly watches his brother from afar, who is now in high school. Later, Jun sees Jean during a shoot. Their eyes meet after many years. Rina also sees them. Jun's mother drags him away and scolds him, reminding him of the incident years ago when Jun got kicked by Jean and ran away from Korea. Jun says he told his mother to apologize to Jean because she ruined Jin's life, but she never did. In another scene, Rina asks her manager to arrange a meeting with Jun. She wants to meet him. Jun's mother comes to meet Jean but gets thrown out when she tries to ruin Jin's image by calling her cursed and dangerous. Miri knows she's lying and kicks her out. Rina meets Jun and tries to flirt with him, holds his hand, and asks about his ex-girlfriend. June rejects her and leaves. He later does a live stream reading pages from his book. Jean watches it. The story he reads says, "I wanted to keep someone safe, but that person became a criminal." It's very obvious he's speaking about Jean. Rena keeps chasing him and invites him for drinks. She tells her manager to take the car. She'll go with June. Jean goes home and lovingly praises her assistant again, asking her to drop her at Miri's office. Meanwhile, the assistant secretly texts Rena, telling her they're coming. It's now clear the assistant is working with Rena too. Jean enters Miri's office to find the files. She discovers a secret room but doesn't know the locker code. Rena arrives and confronts her, saying she already has the file Jean was looking for. She demands Jean kneel and apologize. Jean refuses, so Rena slaps her. When Jean mentions Young doesn't love her, Rena becomes even more furious and attacks her with the file. June sees all this from the parking area. Later, Rena takes June with her and warns him to forget everything he saw. She boasts that she taught Jean a good lesson. Rena invites June to her company's 7th anniversary celebration and tells him to come as her boyfriend to make Young jealous. June agrees. Jean reads June's book at home. The next day, at the anniversary event, Young feels uneasy and leaves to take medicine. Jean gives him water. We can't tell whether the pills are real medicine or something dangerous. Rena arrives with June. She introduces him to Jean, teasingly reminding them they met in the parking lot. Suddenly, a video plays on the screen, Rena slapping and hitting Jean with a file. Everyone is shocked. Miri rushes to the stage, calling it AI, calling it fake, but it clearly isn't. Then we see what actually happened last night. Jean had already caught her assistant secretly sending information to Rena. The assistant confessed Rena had paid for her father's treatment. Jean forgave her and asked her to keep working with Rena. The assistant then recorded the fight in the parking lot and gave the video to Jean. Now the tables had turned. Jean tells Rena, "Come kneel before me and apologize," mimicking Rena's earlier behavior. We also see the corrupt ex-police officer who lost his job because Jean exposed him. He warns Jean that she may be successful now, but she has done terrible things like framing Young, an innocent restaurant owner, who is still in jail. Rena sends someone Jin's picture and tells them to investigate her. June sees all this quietly and goes home. There Jean meets him, hugs him, and asks if he misses her. He says yes. She asks, "I thought about you every day. Did you miss me?" Then Jean asks him for help. She wants to date Young Hae. June quietly listens, tears visible in his eyes. Poor guy, he's stuck in love, neither fully hers nor able to move on. Yet he will still help her. Jean wants to destroy Rena, and Young is Rena's weakness. She plans to use him. After talking to June last night, Jean stayed at his house. In the morning, when his mother arrives and sees Jean wearing June's shirt, she becomes furious and starts hitting her. But Jean tells her, "I'm here because of you. If you hadn't messed with my work, I wouldn't have come here." Just then, June arrives and takes her away. Later, Jean goes to her shoot where she and ING are filming a romantic scene. After the shoot ends, ING privately calls her to talk. He tells her how he used to be in an idol band, but his junior became more famous than him. That junior had to shoot a macaron commercial containing nuts. Even though ING knew he was allergic, he didn't stop him. The boy fell seriously ill, and ING got the opportunity to shoot the ad instead. That commercial made him extremely famous, but guilt still haunts him. Whenever the boy texts him asking how he is, ING feels like he's being mocked. ING also tells Jean that she can climb to the top without doing anything dirty, implying she purposely leaked the video. Jean then realizes that her beauty alone will not be enough anymore. Right after that, the police inspector calls Jean and summons her. Coincidentally, ING is going to the same place to meet his old band members. When Jean arrives, ING sees her there. Jean enters a room full of people passed out due to drug use. The inspector tells her, "Look carefully. In a few years, your life will look like this. I called you here just to show you." When Jean comes out, ING sees her again, but she cannot explain anything. ING now finds her even more problematic and immature. Meanwhile, Kim Jae-woo has started working with a man who conducts background checks. His first assignment is to dig up information on the inspector. He secretly taps the inspector's phone and overhears him telling a reporter that Jean killed her own father. He urgently calls June, who assures him that Jean did nothing and the inspector is framing her for revenge. June also scolds Jae-woo for doing nothing despite knowing the truth. Jae-woo says Jean told him not to meet her, so they decide to work together. From now on, Jean will be pulling the strings again. Later, the three meet after a long time. Jae-woo is extremely happy to see her. It seems Jean laughs genuinely only with Jae-woo, in a way she never laughs with anyone else. She looks truly happy, and June notices this quietly. After Jean leaves, Jae-woo asks June why he introduced him to her even though June likes her. June says, "Because I can see how she behaves when she's with you. She laughs like a normal person." The boys then dig into Ing's background and learn he is suffering from depression due to the guilt regarding his junior. His only family is his grandmother. Jae-woo steals her diary and gives it to Jean so she can use it. Jean then goes to the temple where the grandmother usually visits, making sure she is noticed. She even arranges a new apartment for her manager right next to Ing's grandmother's house. She starts giving gifts to neighbors, pretending they recently moved in. She purposely goes to Ing's grandmother, who recognizes her and invites her inside because it is her daughter's death anniversary. Jean deliberately cries there. When Angie hears about it, he rushes over angrily, drags her out and tells her to stop. But Jean confronts him, saying, "This is your habit. You try to please everyone, and when someone tries to care for you, you push them away. Even though you know I like you, you still reject me and put yourself in pain. You're a coward." She forces herself to cry and leaves. Later, June asks her what her plan is. She says she will use ing to reach the top. Ing will just be a stepping stone. She will date him for a year, long enough to rise. After the ceremony, Ing's grandmother tells him he needs to learn how to love and depend on people because life cannot continue like this. She says she will leave soon, but he still has a long life ahead. Ing cries in his car, and Jean overhears everything, realizing her plan is working. She then wins over Ing's manager and secretly arranges a meeting with Ji-hyuk, the junior. When Ji-hyuk meets Ing, he tells him he never blamed him. He knowingly ate the macarons with nuts because he wanted an escape from his depressing life. Ing wasn't at fault. Hearing this, Ing becomes enraged and hits him, thinking he only brought it up to ruin his life. But Ji-hyuk says he came only because Jean asked him to and because she seemed genuinely worried. Frustrated, Ing goes to the CEO and asks him to keep Jean away from him as much as possible and to make his breakup with Lena official. Meanwhile, June and Jae-woo threaten the detective, saying they will expose his daughter in the US for drug use unless he leaves Jean alone. So, the inspector retracts everything and tells the reporter he has nothing against Jean. Lena becomes furious and yells at him, saying after taking so much money, he should at least do his job. The boys also suspect there may be some personal relationship between Lena and that man. Ing's grandmother later meets Jean to apologize and asks why she cried earlier. Jean lies that the dish she cooked was her mother's favorite, something she learned from the diary and also true for the grandmother. Her manipulation is working. Ing apologizes and invites her to dinner. She agrees but asks Jae-woo to delay him. Jae-woo stages a minor accident so Ing gets late. Meanwhile, Lena and June meet. Lena asks about his relationship with Bae Ka-jin. He says they used to be step-siblings. She tells him, "The way you look at her, you two definitely don't look like siblings." Ing gets stressed about being late. He takes a cab, but when traffic stops, he runs all the way to Jean. The restaurant is closed, and Jean is already waiting outside. Some men insult Jean after seeing her poster, and June gets into a fight. Lena scares them away. Jin's plan succeeds because Ing is deeply touched seeing her waiting. When she wraps a scarf around his neck, he becomes emotional. Finally, they kiss, a confession. Meanwhile, June lies there injured, remembering all his memories with Jean from childhood to now. Lena's cousin is taking photos of these two, but he isn't the only one doing it. Kim Jae-woo is also taking pictures because Jean told him to, but the poor guy is almost crying because he too likes Jean. On the other side, Lena tells June, "You got so angry just by hearing a few things. Love really makes people do crazy things." But June tells her, "I actually wanted to get beaten up." And Lena says, "You're totally my style." Because Lena is drunk, he answers her phone call, and her cousin tells her, Jean and Ing are kissing in the middle of the street. Hearing this, June becomes a little upset, but he still messages Jean to stay alert. Next day, the news has spread everywhere, and Meyer tells Jean, "What is going on? Stay away from him as soon as possible if you want to save both your careers." But Jean clearly says, "I'm serious. I truly like him. And don't worry, I'll talk to the reporter myself." Just then, Ing Kong also arrives and says the same thing. "I'm really serious this time, and I'm genuinely very happy. So I just want your blessings." After that, Jean meets Lena's cousin and makes a deal with him. She will personally give him exclusive news about her love story. He won't even need to follow her. He just needs to do what she says. She gives him the pictures taken by Jae-woo because they're clearer. And of course, the next day the news is out. Now the whole world knows they're dating. On the other side, Jin's manager goes on a date. Jean tells her she will book a salon appointment for her and warns her not to say anything stupid if she gets drunk. Then we learn this is all Jin's plan. Her blind date partner is actually Kim Jae-woo. She manipulates him until he spills everything about the Lena incident, and she secretly records it. She had to do this because all the case files are already with Lena. Meanwhile, Lena gets removed from a project. When she steps outside, she receives a message and watches the video. Just then, Jean arrives to warn her and says, "This is only the beginning of your hell. I told you not to do all this. You forced me to do it. So now suffer. This won't end anytime soon." Then she fires her manager too, saying, "The way you treated me, who knows what you might do tomorrow. Today is your last day." And she kicks her out. After this, things finally start getting better. Jean and Ing Kong's dating life is going great, and people adore them. Meanwhile, June is writing his new book, getting closer to Lena, and honestly, now I'm more scared of June than Jean. His expressions are getting impossible to read. He attends Jin's movie premiere with Lena, thinking, it's been a year. She hasn't returned like she promised. And she hasn't broken up either. Maybe she really loves Ing Kong. But God knows what's actually going on inside his mind. Jae-woo also spends almost all his time with June. Wondering the same, Jin hasn't contacted him for a long time, which is actually a good thing because she only calls when she's miserable. But he still misses her. Suddenly, Jin calls him for help. Jae-woo asks her, why don't you answer your own mother's calls? Her mother just wants money from her. Then we see her grandfather, who is sick, and June tells his manager that his mother must never find out. But since his mother can't reach him, she breaks into his house and finds some documents. She then goes straight to Jean and threatens her again. But Jean says, stop bothering me. Think about what June will do if he finds out he's not his father's son but someone else's. He loves his father and grandfather too much. Later, at a mall, Jean bumps into Songi, her very first ex, who posts about her online. But Jean is now at a level where she can handle anything. So she sorts it all out smoothly and even convinces Mary with her sweet talk. Then Jean falls sick and is struggling alone. Her grandmother arrives at her apartment. She couldn't enter earlier because she didn't know the passcode. So she stood in the cold for a long time. She cooks for Jean and tells her, when you're sick, you shouldn't be alone. Jean becomes deeply emotional, probably for the first time. Her grandmother says, even if what I see in the news is true, I don't believe it. I know you must have your reasons. You're not bad. You're like Ing to me, my child. Hearing this, Jean even tells her the passcode so she won't have to stand outside next time. Meanwhile, Ing's career is going extremely well. Mary visits him and acts casual, but he senses something is off. She asks him why he rejected a movie offer. He says, for the first time in a long time, I'm happy. I don't want to lose this happiness by my own hands. I just want a break. She then notices a pair of children's shoes lying around and almost misunderstands. But Angie clears it up. Then he says he wants to move forward with Jean. He even wants to marry her, though he hasn't told her yet. At a temple, Jean sees Young-han and is shocked, but pretends to stay cool. She says she's happy he is healthy and out. He asks what she truly thinks of him. She replies, of course, I think you're a very good man. But Young-han says, how long do you think I can keep being good? Just then, her grandmother arrives. Jean introduces them. Young-han says Jean used to volunteer at the prison, and she says she worked at his restaurant before debut. But deep inside, Jean fears he might do something dangerous. Meanwhile, at June's home, Lena hugs Jae-woo, thinking he is June. But Jae-woo doesn't recognize her and thinks she's June's girlfriend. When she asks his name to learn more about June, he says nothing. Then he remembers this is Lena, the one obsessed with ruining Jean. When he steps out, Jean calls him for another task that June must never know about. The task is to keep an eye on Young-han. Meanwhile, dating rumors spread about Lena and June, and Jenna is thrilled. Mary comes to meet June, and we learn he invested in the movie based on his book on one condition: Jean must be the lead actress. They discuss this and also talk about Ing and Jean. June tells her to stick to the contract terms. Mary says the same to Ing. Ing says Jean needs a break. She's not well. Mary says, in your 20s, no one gets a break. Jean comes to meet June after a whole year. He asks, you're very late. You said you'd return within a year. Did you really fall in love with Ing? Jean says, forget me. Tell me what you're doing with Lena? June replies, I need to keep her close so she doesn't create problems for you. He leans in to kiss her, but she turns her face away. Lena suddenly arrives and tries to fight, but June stops her. Later, Jae-woo meets Jean and says Young-han isn't doing anything dangerous for now, so she can relax. When he asks about her dating life, she says she's very happy. Then we see Lena taking June somewhere. Meanwhile, Ing celebrates Jin's birthday. Lena purposely arrives there. She sits them together and tells Ing that these two were actually classmates. But Jean says they were step-siblings, a memory she never wants to recall. June says his mother used to trouble Jean a lot. Then Lena asks, so what were you doing at his house last night? Jean answers she had gone to politely decline the movie offer. Ing says, don't ruin her birthday. Then he learns his grandmother found Jin's diary when she went to her apartment and got injured. Jean panics and Ing asks her to look after his grandma. She and Jae-woo rush to the grandma's house on a bike. The grandma is waiting. Jae-woo is downstairs, and June arrives there too. Suddenly, they hear a noise and panic. But it isn't Jean, it's Ing's grandmother, who has fallen down the stairs, or someone pushed her. We don't know. At the hospital, where Ing's grandmother is undergoing surgery, Jean is sitting outside, extremely tense. It clearly shows on her face. Meanwhile, June is standing behind her, wondering, what could she be praying for right now? For someone to die, or for someone to be saved? And just then, Ing's grandmother passes away. June thinks, maybe God granted her prayer, or maybe abandoned her. At the funeral, Ing is completely shattered. Jean tries to console him, though she herself looks very emotional. Lena also arrives. Then Young appears, and Ing's brother watches him closely, because he already knows a bit about Jean and Young's connection. Meanwhile, Jean gives her statement to the police and we get a flashback. Ing's grandmother tells Jean, you betrayed my entire family. You approached me on purpose. You approached my son on purpose. What should I do with you now? When the accident happens, Jae-yu tells Jean, I'll handle everything. I'll erase the CCTV footage. But On replies, there is no CCTV here, and everyone knows I came here, so she herself calls the hospital. We also see Ino talking to Young, asking, is it true On caused her father's death? Young denies it and says On acted foolishly, and he feels guilty because she took Baconil's father away. Jin overhears all this and confronts Young. You had a chance to ruin me. Why didn't you take revenge? He answers with the story of his 5 years in prison. Year 1, he wanted revenge. Year 2, he wondered, why me? Year 3, he wondered what trauma she must have gone through. Year 4, he pitied her. Year 5, he forgave her. Jin says he missed his chance. Meanwhile, the reporter wants to write an article. Angie is retiring. Jin's career is rising. Why is she still with him? He calls Jean, but she ignores him. Songi applies for journalism but declines because Kim Jae-e threatened her. After the funeral, On meets a director and secures a new opportunity by using ing. Mary informs June since he is a big investor and says maybe Ing's grandmother left this as a gift for On. June confronts Jin's. She finally admits, yes, I did it. She made me angry, and she found out I approached her on purpose. June is shocked. Meanwhile, ing goes to his grandmother's neighborhood. A lady tells him they argued loudly that night and there was a safety camera installed. But when he goes to check, the camera is gone. The pendrive is with June. Ji-yu confronts him, saying he should have trusted Oin. Ing is completely broken. Suddenly articles appear saying he is going to marry Jean because someone photographed him buying a ring. The director scolds On for risking everything by being linked to a retiring actor. Mary asks On about it. On decides to end everything. She will break up with Ing. June drinks heavily. Lena visits him and takes him home. Meanwhile, Jean goes to Ing and asks, were you planning to marry me? Then she shows her real face. I've never been insulted this much because of you. What were you thinking? Marrying me when you're retiring? Dragging me down with you? I'm breaking up with you. Ing is shocked. This isn't the gentle Jean he knew. She continues, yes, I approached you on purpose. And your grandmother found out. Ing asks, what did you do to my grandmother? She says nothing and leaves. She calls the reporter. Publish the breakup article. She tries calling Kim Jae-yu. He sees someone following her and goes to confront them. He gets brutally beaten. Mary goes to Ing's home and finds him in the bathtub. He has committed suicide. She screams and cries in horror. June hears the hospital people saying ing has died. He rushed to Jean's. You said he wouldn't get hurt, but he died. You destroyed an entire family. Jin says, it's not my fault. Don't expect guilt from me. I became like this because of you. At the funeral, Mary is heartbroken. Jun goes to Ing's home and says, it wasn't my fault. You were too weak. Ing's fans protest outside Jin's house, throwing eggs at her. Songi rescues her, forces her way into Jin's house, steals her purse temporarily. A mysterious man is shown following Jean. Mary meets the reporter and tells him to reopen Ing's case. Jean meets June's mother. She kneels and apologizes. Jean mocks her apology and refuses to accept it. June's mother says, tell June I knelt before you. Jean snaps and behaves aggressively. Finally, the real flashback is revealed. Jean cried in front of Ing's grandmother, saying, yes, I approached you on purpose, but I only wanted your love. Ing's grandmother forgives her and says, don't do this again. I'll stand by you. This stays between us. Jean promises. A cat meows. Grandmother goes to show Jean the cats. Jean gets dizzy, slips, and falls. On reaches out not to kill her, but to save her. June sees the footage on the pendrive. He realizes he doubted Jean again. Jean tells June's mother, I hated you most when you pretended to love me. When On prayed at the hospital, she said, please save him, go. It's my fault. Later we see the mysterious man again. Jean can no longer work with Miri. Their contract has been cancelled before time, and now Jean is going to be removed from the company. Jean is on her way to talk about the contract when she sees Miri standing on the rooftop, speaking to agencies. Miri warns them, don't hire Jean. When she notices Jean approaching, she adds, something big is about to happen. Jean reaches her, throws the contract at her, and asks, why are you doing this? Did you really have to? Miri admits she should have done this long ago but couldn't. Jean asks if she's doing this because of Ingang. Miri replies, whatever happened to him was your fault. I told you I was dating him, but you ignored it. Miri says she knows and she feels guilty. To reduce this guilt, she's doing all this. She says sometimes she thinks if she had not approached Jean first, none of this would have happened. She and Ingang would have been happy, and he would still be alive. Jean responds that she only spent a year with Ingang, while Miri lived with him for 10 years. She knew his condition and should have cared, but she didn't. Jean starts to leave, but Miri stops her and tells her to hit her. Jean instead asks what she must do to return to the company. Miri answers, I don't know. Maybe jump from here. I'll send you back to the life you came from. You were a suspect in your father's murder. Jean leaves, sits inside her car, and screams. In the next scene, June is speaking with Miri. Miri says Jean cannot work with them anymore. June says then he will not invest in her company. Miri replies that they cannot protect Jean anymore. Everyone around her ends up dead. Next, we see June's mother trying to meet June's grandfather, but the secretary throws her out. She tries to call June, but he does not answer. She is in the parking lot and sees Jean arrive. June's mother calls Jean and reminds her that she once apologized on her knees. Jean tells her not to talk rubbish because she is already stressed. She tells her to talk directly to her son if she needs something. June's mother says she's sick and needs a kidney donor. Usually family members donate. Jean sees June nearby, puts the call on speaker, and tells June mother to tell her son herself. She gets nervous and disconnects. June tells Jean not to take his mother calls, but Jean says if she doesn't pick up, she doesn't know what June's mother might do. She reminds him how Jish used to abuse her, drowning her with her own hands. June admits he tried to blackmail Miri by threatening to stop investing, but Miri didn't care. He says Miri will remove Jean from the entire industry. He asks what else Miri might do, but Jean says she doesn't know. Miri has never behaved like this before. Gio arrives on his bike. The three gather inside. June asks what they should do. Jean says she can't sit still, she must act. Gio says no agency is willing to hire her. Miri has contacted them all. He asks about the important file but Jean says it's useless. She adds that at this rate either she or Miri will die. At night, June is thinking deeply, and the next scene shows him at the hospital with his mother. He agrees to donate a kidney but sets conditions. She must never meet Jean again, never disturb his grandfather, and never harm Jean. Next, Yin is in a meeting when she hears a rumor and runs to Miri. The police are here. The police arrive with a warrant against Miri for illegal activities. They say she has files she uses to control celebrities and blackmail them. This news spreads everywhere. Jean sees it on TV and smiles. June goes home and tells the secretary not to inform his grandfather about his kidney transplant. Lena overhears, confronts him, calls him an idiot, and walks away angrily. Morning, Jean talks to June. Today is his surgery. He tells her not to come and to take care of herself. Then Jean receives a call from an agency. They want to work with her and say they can reset her life. They ask her to come to their office. She gets ready and steps outside, where she meets Songi, who shows her hate comments. Jean tells her to remove her watch before she calls the police. Songi acts innocent and even shows her luxury brushes costing 10 million won, which strangely makes Jean happy. Next, Gio is seen leaving a restaurant. A suspicious car passes by. He talks to his friend saying all the license plates are fake. He admits he didn't tell Jean that someone is following her because he thought he could handle it himself, but now he must warn her. Under the table, a hidden microphone records everything. The man listening is Do-hyuk, who appeared in the previous scene. Do-hyuk goes for his presentation. Now Jean arrives at the agency with Jiho. Jiho tells her to drive safely and call him if needed. She asks why he is being so nice today. Inside the agency, they show her the contract. They ask how she knows Do-hyuk, since he recommended her. They say he has been helping her for a long time. She notices his photo. Do-hyuk finishes his presentation, sees her, and approaches. She asks why he is helping her. He says he donates money to misfortunate people like her. She asks if he sent Miri to jail. He says yes. He receives a phone call and leaves for a meeting. Meanwhile, June meets Gio, who shows his injuries and explains about the men who followed Jean and beat him. At the agency, Jean meets Do-hyuk again. He asks how far she wants to rise. He offers to help her become an international actress. Then he says he wants her to marry him. Jean laughs in shock. As June and Gio talk, a man approaches the door carrying a gas cylinder. Do-hyuk proposing to Jean. Marry me. Whatever dirty past you have, I'll wipe it clean. You don't need to overthink. Just say yes at the altar. I'll do anything you ask. Jean hesitates. How can I trust you? Do-hyuk. My word is my proof. You can believe me. Jean accepts. He slips the ring on her finger, and they both smile. Meanwhile, June learns the building is about to be raided. He smashes a window, grabs Jeo, and they jump to safety. They later reach a safe location. June tries calling Jean repeatedly, but she doesn't answer. Secretary Hong calls with bad news. June tells Gio, I have to go, my grandfather's condition has worsened. Please find Jean. He rushes to the hospital only to discover his grandfather has already died. The next scene is the funeral. Everyone attends. June's mother, Ji-seon, shows up dressed inappropriately, drawing stares. She places flowers by the portrait, glances at June, then joins the funeral meal. Joe arrives later and whispers to June, I found Jean. She said she'll talk to you later. We then see Songi trying to pawn items she stole from Jean. Police suddenly arrest her. At the station, Songi claims Jean gave her permission to sell them, so Jean is released. When Songi returns home, Jean is waiting. Jean coldly, "Now even the police call me because of people like you." Songi, "I was doing it for us. You're broke and jobless. I was going to split the money 50-50. Jean walks away. Songi shouts, "Fine, 40-60 then." Jean ignores her. Back at the funeral meal, Ji-seon is loud and disruptive. She drags Mr. Hong over, tries forcing him to drink, then demands her share of the inheritance. Mr. Hong informs her she gets nothing. She has no blood relation to the late chairman. Everything goes to June. Ji-seon screams, "Then what about June? He's illegitimate too." June, having overheard, confronts her. "What did you just say?" Ji-seon, "Yes, you're a bastard. I raised you, so pay me for it." Outside, June asks his mother if she only raised him to secure the inheritance. She admits it and reveals that Jean has known the truth since she was 9 and used to blackmail her. "June, is that why you beat her?" He adds that despite knowing she was a terrible person, he still helped her out of pity. Ji-seon insists she did everything for his sake. Later, when Jean falls asleep, Songi comes to her and accuses her. "When I was expelled because of you, my family was destroyed. Don't you feel any regret? You should apologize." Jean, "I have nothing to apologize for. You ruined yourself out of greed. You stalked and harassed me but achieved nothing. Be glad you're still breathing." June goes to Jin's agency. She ignores his calls. When the elevator opens, Jean steps out. "June, why aren't you answering?" "Jean, I heard about your grandfather. I was gonna call later." She tries to leave. He grabs her arm. "When exactly?" She snaps, "Who are you to order me?" June, "Did you know I'm illegitimate?" Jean, "Finally, you found out." He accuses her of hiding the truth. She explains she kept it secret to protect him. He wouldn't have survived the shame. June, "I would have endured anything for you. You should have told me." He drives to a bridge and breaks down crying. Jean moves into Do-hyuk's massive mansion. All staff treat her like royalty. A housekeeper named Gong shows her around. Jean sees her wedding invitation and Italy flight tickets. The wedding is imminent. Jeo, watching TV in his shop, sees the news of Jean and Do-hyuk's engagement. His friend turns it off. "That's Do-hyuk of the Chable family. Even stalkers run from that name. Forget her, man." At the airport, Lena tells June she's leaving the country for good and advises him to stay away from Jean and focus on himself. June says he's done writing and will finally live for himself. They say goodbye. In the mansion, Jean tries to access a locked room on the 3rd floor to study her script in peace. Gong refuses, even the previous lady wasn't allowed. Jean laughs it off as a joke. At dinner, Do-hyuk asks about her upcoming film. Jean asks, "How does it feel when you finally get what you wanted?" Do-hyuk, "If it was easy, it would be boring." Jean, "So was I easy?" He smiles. "You know how hard I fought for you. That's why I got you this huge movie." She again requests the 3rd floor room. He refuses but offers to read lines with her instead. Reading the script, he asks what the story is about. Jean, "My family was murdered. I want revenge. I have to kill the murderer." Do-hyuk, casually, "Have you ever killed anyone? Or wanted to?" She freezes. He smiles and mentions he never told her about his ex-wife. He gave her everything, but she still accused him falsely, so he divorced her. She's now in a psychiatric hospital. He looks at Jean, shocked. "Jean, I'm fine." During a church shoot for the film, Jean overhears gossip that her marriage to Do-hyuk won't last a year. Later, Jean takes period pain medicine, then notices something strange in her room. Flashbacks hit her of killing her abusive father. That night she has nightmares and wakes up terrified, going outside to smoke. June visits his grandfather's grave, thanks him for raising him, but says he can no longer live in that house. Jeo and June meet at a restaurant. June called him for the first time. June asks why Jeo is sacrificing his life for someone else when no one cares if he lives or dies. Jeo tells June to take care of himself. After another day of shooting, Jeo secretly watches Jean. A staff member recognizes him and brings him to her. Jean, "You were staring, of course I noticed. Why are you here?" Jeo, "Just checking if you're okay." Jean asks him to investigate Do-hyuk's ex-wife. She wants to meet her. Jeo, shocked. "He was married before. I knew that guy was insane." Do-hyuk secretly overhears the entire conversation. That night, Gong brings tea, insisting Do-hyuk ordered Jean to drink it. Jean pretends to drink but pours it out. Do-hyuk enters her room while she's asleep, caresses her face, watches her, then leans in to kiss her. Next morning, while Jean enjoys the view outside, one of the maids is revealed to be Songi in disguise. When alone, Songy attacks with a knife, screaming, "You ruined my life? I'll kill you." They fight fiercely. Songy stabs Jin's arm but Jin disarms her. Songy grabs her hair, gets on top, and is about to stab again. "Your wedding is coming. Do you think it's a blessing or a curse? Your husband." Jin grabs the knife and slashes Songy's face. Songy screams. Do-hyuk has been watching the entire fight from the shadows without helping. Jin starts laughing hysterically. He goes to Jin, picks her up, and takes her away. In the next scene, Jin wakes up and sees Jun in front of her, but it's actually Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk tells her, "Just rest. Don't think about anything." He takes her into his arms. Next, news spreads everywhere about Jin, what happened to her, and how Songy tried to kill her. Geo sees this news, screams, and asks, "Why did she try to kill Jin?" Then we see reporter Hakuk, who is running a podcast to expose Jin's past. The next scene shows Do-hyuk talking to Jin, asking her how she is. He tells her shooting is coming up in a few days, so she should take a break. He also says, "I've put Songy in a psychiatric hospital. You don't need to worry anymore." Later, we see Jiho with his friend. The friend says that Songy has been admitted to a psychiatric hospital, the same hospital Do owns. He kept his ex-wife there too, but she has disappeared. They check the hospital footage and spot a man who had previously attacked Joe. Jiho says, "What is that man doing here?" Next, Jun is with his mother Jash. She tells him she knows he has stopped writing, but he must still think about his future. Jun agrees to think about it. Jash says she feels suffocated at home and suggests they go shopping. They go to a store, and Jash chooses a purse, asking her son which one she should buy. Jun says both suit her. A salesgirl sees them and says they look like a perfect mother-son pair. While leaving, Jash says Jun is becoming a good son. A man passing by recognizes Jun and says he tried contacting him. He asks if he can talk. Jun says he's with his mother, but Jash insists it's fine. The man takes Jun aside and says he followed Jun's book, and everything written in the book keeps happening to Jin. He mentions the recent incident where Songy tried to kill her. Jun says he had no idea. The reporter asks how everything matches the book. Does Jun know what will happen next? Jun denies everything, saying it's all fictional. Outside, Jun calls Joe, asking what happened to Jin. Joe says, "Now you care? So many articles have already come out. Why don't you check them?" Meanwhile, Jin is in her room reading rumors about herself. She steps out, and Ino asks if she is okay. Jin asks for tea. As she goes to get tea, she sees some staff members talking and thinks they are gossiping about her. She brings the tea, but as soon as she drinks it, she appears somewhere else, drunk, drinking alcohol. She wonders how she got there. She notices things scattered on the floor. Then she goes to the third floor and sees an open room. When she enters, Ino arrives. Jin asks what all this is. Ino says Inmo told her Jin did all this, but Jin says she remembers nothing. We then see what really happened. The staff were talking. Jin suddenly approached them. Things started falling. She picked up a weapon, went to the third floor, broke open the door and entered Do's room, where she saw many photos of Do-hyuk's ex-wife. Ino asks if she is okay and if she wants to go to the hospital. Jin screams, saying, "Why would I go there? I already told you, I'm not like Do's ex-wife. And don't tell Do what happened today." Later, Jin is drunk in her room. She gets a call from Jio but doesn't answer. During her shoot, she suddenly leaves. Outside, Jiho meets her and brings her inside. Jin asks why he came. Jiho says he called her for help. She had asked him to, but Jin denies this. Jo says she doesn't remember because she keeps getting nightmares. She says she feels Do-hyuk is doing something to her. Jo says he found out which hospital Do-hyuk's ex-wife was admitted to, but she is missing now. Songy was kept in the same hospital, and Songy had already met Do. She did everything for money. Jin refuses to believe this but remembers Songy trying to tell her something during the attack. "Your husband." Before Jin hit her, Jin shouts, "So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to divorce him? That will never happen. Took me so long to reach this point. I struggled so much. Why does this only happen to me?" Jo hugs her to comfort her. Later, Jin has another nightmare. She breaks the mirror and cuts her hand. Do-hyuk appears behind her, bandages her hand, and asks why she's doing this. He says he wants her to depend on him completely, unable to do anything on her own. Junji meets Jo. Jo explains everything, that Do-hyuk is manipulating Jin, making her forget things, giving her nightmares. He says they must fight Do-hyuk. But Jun refuses, saying they shouldn't interfere in Jin's life without proof. Jo shouts that Jun is useless and leaves. The next day, Jin arrives for shooting. She gets ready and receives the script, but it has been changed. She confronts the director, and he confirms it. In the new script, Jin is supposed to beat a man with a bat. She sees the man applying fake blood on the bat for shooting. She tries to practice the scene but keeps failing. She steps out for a smoke, then returns and says she can do it. She takes the bat, looks at the man, and suddenly starts hitting him violently. The director shouts, "Cut!" But she won't stop. The staff rush in to save the man. Jean sees Do-hyuk nearby. He laughs and says, "You did well." Later, news reports break out Jean almost killed a man during filming. She calls the director, asking who ordered the script change. He says it was Do. Next, Jean goes to meet Do. She learns he is at a pool. She arrives, sees him, and asks, "Why did you change the script?" Do says, "Because I don't want anyone else to help you. I want you to come only to me. I gave you everything you ever wanted." Then he holds her feet and says, "But you couldn't give me what I wanted." She steps back and asks, "What do you mean? My ex-wife couldn't tolerate all this. But you're fine with me?" Jean asks, "Why are you doing this to me?" He replies, "I think you're being punished." Jean doesn't understand anything. Later, Jean remembers that when she thought she was in Jun's arms, it actually wasn't him. It was Do, and she had told him that she felt like she was being punished. Then Do suddenly pushes her into the pool. Jean starts drowning. She remembers moments from her past but eventually comes back up to the surface. Do calls June and says, "One of my wives isn't doing well. Come here and handle her." June rushes over and asks Jean, "Are you okay?" Jean says, "I realized something. I'm also trash. I can be thrown away anytime. But I want to rise even above Do. Will you help me?" But June refuses. Later, Jean is in the bathroom. She calls Gio. Gio asks, "Are you okay? What happened to your voice?" Jean says, "I'm not okay at all. Now I need your help. I can't take this anymore." Gio says, "No matter what happens, I will help you." Jean asks, "Why are you helping me?" Gio says, "Because when I'm with you, when I work for you, I feel good. I have no one, so I want to be useful to you. You can use me as much as you want." Next scene, Jean arrives on set with a new kind of energy. Her manager asks, "Do you know what happened yesterday?" Jean says, "I don't remember anything. What happened?" But the manager says nothing. Later, she is with Do. Do says, "I'm going on a business trip. Today is your last shoot, so I came to congratulate you. You look better today, but yesterday you were cursing me." Jean says, "What nonsense are you talking? I would never curse you. You accepted me. You must have had a dream." Jean is pretending deliberately, and Do doesn't understand. Do is driving when a man sees him, comes in front with a bike, and stops the car. He pulls Do out. The man shouts, "Who are you?" He removes his helmet and says, "Look closely. I'm the one you tried to burn alive. I know everything about you and Do. I will expose you soon." He leaves. The man then calls Do and says there's a problem. Do replies, "Kill Gio." Jean is beside him and hears everything. Next scene, Gio is in his shop talking to his friend. He asks, "Did you install the cameras?" Then he sees through the cameras that several cars are arriving, people who came to kill him. The men enter, but Gio escapes on his bike. They chase him for a long time. Gio reaches a location he prepared earlier. The men enter to kill him. Gio fights them for a while, then drags them to the place where the cameras are installed. They beat him severely, but he forces a confession out of them. They admit who ordered them. They take Edev's name. Meanwhile, Jean is shooting. She hits a woman with a bat in the same way she once hit her own father. June is at his house looking at his childhood photo. But suddenly he gets a message. It's a video. In the video, he sees Joe being beaten. Jean also comes home and sees the same message. She tries to call Joe, but nothing happens. She goes to the bathroom and starts crying. She already understood what had happened. The men put Joe's body inside a metal container. June tries to call, but they take his phone away. In the next scene, June goes to meet Joe's friend. He asks him what happened. The man says, "I didn't know he planned to die like that. If I knew, I would have never done the job. I would have helped him, but I couldn't. He told me to give everything to you." And he hands June some evidence. Jean wakes up in the morning and realizes she is in Do's arms. She comes out. Do follows her. Jean says, "I want to talk. Next time, don't touch me." Do says, "Why can't I? You're my wife." Jean replies, "If I were really your wife, then what's yours would also be mine. But that's not the case. Don't do this again, because I have evidence against you." Then she shows him the proof. She comes close and says, "Next time don't try this. Otherwise I'll expose this video. You know what will happen after that." She touches his face, gives him a small kiss, and leaves. After Jean leaves, June calls her. He asks, "What happened to Joe? Tell me what you did." Jean says, "Can you handle the truth? I needed evidence against Do. That's why Joe did it for me." June shouts, telling her she should stop. But Jean says, "I'll never stop. And after Joe's death, I won't ever stop." June later goes to meet Do and warns, "Don't do anything to Jean. Otherwise I'll expose that video too. I have a copy. Stay away from her. I'm the only one who can stop her." We again see June, who is at home looking at photos. but he throws them into the dustbin. Then we see Jean being prepared for the award ceremony. She leaves for the event. June tries to call her, but she doesn't pick up. June calls the reporter who had once tried to meet him. He says, "I want to tell you something." Jean arrives at the award ceremony. It's the same opening scene from episode 1. She greets her fans and enters the hall. Everyone is waiting for the announcement of the award winner, and it is Jean. She comes on stage, receives her award, and talks about what kind of person her mother was, saying her mother would be proud of her. But meanwhile, we see what June has done. He exposes everything about Jean. There are multiple witnesses, even Songi, all giving statements against Jean. Everyone looks at their phones and sees the news. Jean notices this. She walks away. On the nearby screen, she sees June revealing everything about her past and what kind of person she really is. Jean throws her award on the ground and runs out. Everyone watches her. She crosses the road. June is sitting in a car nearby. He comes out and looks at her. Then both of them are inside the car together. June asks, "Where do you want to go?" Jean replies, "Somewhere no one else exists. Only us two." June says, "You should stop now. Don't hurt anyone else." He holds her hand and says, "I love you. Let's go to hell together." Jean asks, "Are you serious?" He nods yes. Then he drives the car off a cliff. Next, the news reports that June has died, and Jean is injured, but she is missing. Jash reads a letter written by June, where he explains what kind of person Jean is. He writes, "I can never forgive you. I have removed all traces of what was between us." She checks the photo album, but there is not a single photo left. She rushes downstairs but falls. At the memorial site, Jin's photo is displayed. Suddenly, someone comes and places flowers, but we don't know who it is. Doyak yells at his men, "What nonsense are you talking? Why didn't you find Jean? Where did she go?" Doyak then watches the news where a man explains how Jean came out of the car and escaped. Now we see what really happened. The car crashes. Jean is still alive. She tries to get out but can't. She screams. She takes a knife, cuts the seatbelt, and tries to escape. June holds her but she still gets out. She slowly climbs upward. Then she looks back with a terrifying face. And with that, the drama ends.